If you're a Medicare agent and you learn one thing from this podcast, take home the fact that if you just educate your clients on what Medicare does not do, does not cover, versus, oh, you get silver sneakers and it'll pay for your co-payments. Yeah, okay, that's what everyone's doing. Why don't you have that conversation on what it's not going to do and then provide solutions for that, i.e. long-term care, life insurance is the door opener. And then you can go into income planning with annuities to help pay for the egregious premiums of Part B and your supplement plan that keep going up every year.
Hey, before we get into the podcast, really quick, I want to tell you a little bit more about Medicare Masterclass. Medicare Masterclass is a training platform specifically for agents who want to sell more Medicare. And it's built by a Medicare agent named Ashley Van Gundy, who consistently writes over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. I'm going to say that again. Over 150 policies per month, even outside of AEP. And she doesn't have a massive team. She just has a really great sales process and her marketing is dialed in. So what does the platform include? Exactly that and much more. You're gonna get the 7-step talk path to Medicare sales. So it's gonna show you how to increase production. And you're also gonna get the lead generation mastery to show you how to dial in your marketing so you can have more leads than minutes in the day. So if you are a Medicare agent and you want to sell more Medicare, this is the best training platform available on the market. Go to MedicareMasterclass.com to enroll today. Let's get back into the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Medicare Masterclass podcast. Today will be no different than the last 8 or 9. We've done a good amount, so I don't know what episode we're on, but we have a real treat for you today. And as much as I want to give him a spectacular introduction, I'll let him do the honors there. So we're here with Roy Snarr. Roy, give us a little background. Let us know who you are.
Yeah, sure. It's great to be on and help share some knowledge to the fellow Medicare agents out there. So my name is Roy Snarr. I'm an asset protection specialist. Our firm, we focus on asset protection. And the way that we do that is helping clients with annuities and asset-based long-term care and life insurance. Those are our 3 main lines. We don't sell Medicare. We know about it, but we don't sell Medicare. We help fill in the voids of all the things that Medicare and Social Security will not cover, i.e. annuities for pensions, like to mimic what Social Security is doing, and also all the healthcare coverages like long-term care that Medicare won't cover in the future. So we developed a unique niche and we work with agencies all over the country to help them and their clients out.
Awesome. Yeah. And you were a speaker at the recent Medicare Con 2024, and you shared a really insightful story about how you got into annuities. Could you fill the audience in on that?
Yeah. So my whole background, a lot of people, they may have had family members or they did an internship somewhere and they kind of slowly trickled into the industry. My family, we're a bunch of glorified hillbillies. We had zero background in financial services or business. We had construction companies, did commercial logging. So really no background whatsoever. And then when I was about 14 years old, my mother became disabled. Somebody ran a stop sign, hit her, which led to her disability. There was a divorce that came about it with the stepfather. We lost the house, lost the car, didn't have any money. That was in 2001 when the dot-com bubble burst. And I was 14. I didn't know what was up. I was worried about Pokemon cards and riding my bicycle, right? But when that happened, it always stuck with me. And I always wanted to, be able to help people out because I was like, wow, how could we go from like a middle income family to losing virtually everything except for a Social Security disability income check? It's the only thing we had coming in at the time. And I was like, how can I help people avoid this? So it always stuck with me. And long story short, I ended up asking friends and family, like, hey, what do you do for work? And do you know anybody that's hiring? Because college wasn't really my thing. And I happened to stumble upon insurance. And I started working with insurance. And now fast forwarding 14 years later, my mother still is able to work with us, which is really cool. And we've been able to help thousands of people all across the country. We do radio, TV, seminars, teach at college classes, everywhere. And it's really fun because the solutions that we help provide to people are the solutions that we didn't have, that our family lost a lot.
Cool. Well, a story like that is always amazing to hear. And the question that I want to start with, when you first got into insurance, did you start with annuities and that side of it, like the financial services, or was it a different side?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I first got into insurance, and by the way, to piggyback on my intro story there, shortly after all those travesties happened, we had three grandparents going through long-term care as well. And so it was like this terrible event that we had to live through. Quickly realized that the healthcare system does not pay for long-term care. So all those events were cumulative in my decision to becoming an insurance professional. And when I first started, if I could go back in time, yeah, I'd love to just master annuities and start with that. But I started the same way that a lot of people did, which was selling final expense and mortgage protection life insurance. And I did that for years. And then I slowly got into selling more of the bigger life insurance policies, working with people with pensions for pension maximization. And I didn't really get full time into the annuities till roughly the end of 2018, early 2019. And then I decided, hey, look, this is definitely for me. I love it. I love helping people. I love the math behind it, the transparency behind it, because a lot of these products are relatively simple. And I just went full bore right into the annuity aspect of it. And then it's, history ever since. We've become one of the top agencies in the country for annuity production, just based on having that drive to help people more with protecting their life savings. So in the very beginning, life insurance and final expense. Door knocking. I can tell you the whole story if you want to hear it. So
Cool. Well, that's good to hear. And a lot of people do start in that same exact spot.
Yeah.
Okay. So walk us through the kind of just the timeline. You were in life insurance for a little bit, got into annuities, but what kind of clicked for you? Were you good in the very beginning? I remember seeing a picture at the conference that you shown. But what did that timeline look like?
In the very beginning, I sucked, like all of us do, right? Because you can't just walk in and be good. I mean, I always had a natural ability to start a conversation with somebody, but I was a terrible salesperson and I just didn't understand the products well enough. I completely sucked. It took me 5 years to hit six figures in this business. Now you hear about people like, yeah, my first month I did, $80,000. Okay, good for you. Not me. I was an overnight success over the course of 14 years. Okay. So it was a very long, challenging learning curve. I wanted to quit multiple times, but something just kept tugging me to stay with it. So I was terrible in the beginning and I just kept failing and then failing forward, I guess you would say, until the point where I learned all the objections. I mastered the products and I just got better at being able to help people. So it took me in my fifth year of life insurance, that's when I was making about $250,000 a year. And then I was like, wow, okay, I'm doing pretty good. This is making sense, but I want to accelerate the business. But I quickly realized that, doing that, I'm going to have to sell like 15 life insurance policies a month, right? What if I could do this, like sell 2 or 3 annuities a month and make the same revenue? And so that started making sense to me, and then seeing the value of what the annuities can actually provide. So then when I started slowly transitioning more into annuities, then I quickly realized I sucked all over again, right? I could sell life insurance, but it's not the same product, not the same concept. And I always had this fear in the back of my head because in the beginning, those first 5 years, I was literally door knocking and hanging flyers on people's door about life insurance rates. I mean, that's how grassroots it was. I didn't have a network to tap into or anything. I started from absolutely nothing in that regard. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to go back to doing that with annuities. I can't imagine door knocking. Hey, do you want to buy an annuity? Right? But, taking my experience from the life insurance, I knew that the only thing I could really control was my output, right? I can't control if somebody says yes or no, but I can control my output. So I just started making lots of phone calls, doing some grassroots marketing and just practicing and failing forward all over again, and still writing the life insurance in the meantime, because I had to do that in order to get the bills paid. And then I made a huge transition where I moved to Texas from California. And then I had to start all over again. My whole network was gone, right? And there's no residual income on this side of the fence. And so when I moved to Texas, I started from zero and had to max out all my credit cards. There was a point in time when the bank account was like getting very, very low, like a couple $100. And I was fortunate that I drove 4 hours to sell an annuity and it worked. And it pulled me out of the hole. It was a $650,000 rollover and it saved me. And then from that point on, we just got really, really aggressive with it. And this year, we're going to be able to produce, as our little agency right here in Texas, about 40 million in personal production this year. That's our target right now.
Wow.
So it takes time, right? I mean, I've been in this space for 14 years. A lot of people say, well, how do I make my first 100,000? It's like, give yourself a couple years realistically and just be patient with it. Because as long as you're patient with it and you take the time to educate yourself and you keep practicing, you can make it happen. But most agents are too short-sighted, right? They want the overnight success yesterday, and it doesn't happen.
100%. What part of Texas are you in?
Austin. So just north of Austin. Technically, it's a town called Georgetown.
Georgetown. That's
Georgetown, I'll tell you what. Yeah, Austin's cool, but I try to avoid Austin at all costs. I don't like the big city stuff. But yeah, so we don't even market in Austin. We market in like Georgetown, Cedar Park, Round Rock, these local areas. So it's a smaller demographic, but we've dominated the marketing here, and it's really helped us come a long way because I don't want to drive in the city in traffic.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Cool. So I know that you obviously talk with a lot of Medicare agents, and you're in those conversations, you're in that network. How is it that you help agents, and how is it that what you does relates to Medicare?
Yeah, great question. So, after all these years of experience and once we hit certain levels of success, I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to actually help agents become successful, mimicking what we've built, right? Because in the beginning, I couldn't do that. And that's the challenge in our industry, right? There's a lot of people out there that offer courses or consulting or coaching packages. And then you ask them the questions like, what did you sell in your career? Like, oh, I sold for 3 or 4 months and then I started coaching. I'm like, how could you coach somebody with that little experience, right? So I wanted to wait. In hindsight, I would have done it sooner, but I waited until we hit our first 7-figure revenue year. And then now we're closer to 5 million revenue year. So now it's like, okay, I hit that number. Let me train these agents on how we actually did it. So that way they could try to avoid spending all this wasted money on marketing and other strategies that don't actually work. Let me share all my failures, and hopefully that you can avoid making those same failures. So we developed, with my partner, Garrett, an academy called Snarr Agent Academy. Now that's a complete training platform for agents, and we only charge $97 a month for it. And that's because the platform we use is very expensive. They charge us. So we're like, we're not going to give it away for free, but if you want to pay for it, you can use it. And it's an entire video archive library of everything not to do and the things that have worked for us. And it comes with live weekly coaching Zoom calls where we help case design for agents. And it doesn't require any contracts. If you're happy with your IMO, your organization, cool, stay there. It's a non-biased educational platform, and we've seen tremendous success for it. One of the most rewarding aspects is when agents call us and say, hey, I was able to roll over $500,000 because of the academy. I was able to help this person with a big long-term care policy. My clients are happy. Obviously, they're happy, and my client book is having great retention. And that's something that is really important, especially in the Medicare space, right? There's so many governmental changes and things that are out of our control that are happening to the industry. So a lot of the agents that we realized lately, they're like, you know what? I need to diversify my lines of business here and maybe start offering some more life insurance, maybe start offering some more long-term care, and maybe get into the annuity space a little bit. And you can slowly progress into those 3 other lines. And so we've developed a very unique program, which is a partnership program. So there's a lot of agents that they don't want to focus on life, long-term care, and annuities. They want to strictly focus on the actual Medicare itself, but they don't want to leave the money on the table, and they want to help their clients out. So they actually refer the business to us, and we do a revenue sharing model with them where they get compensated. They're the agent of record. They're on the application. Their clients are happy with the services as well. And then they get paid for it, which is really, really beneficial. And it doesn't distract them from what they're actually doing. And there's no other organization out there, to our knowledge, that actually does that, because most of these IMOs, they're product pushers. They'll say, hey, sell this one company. I will do an illustration for you. But they're not going to call your client and work with your client for 3-4 months at a time and do annual reviews with your client. So we also offered up that partnership program, which a lot of agents take advantage of because they just want to focus on what they're good at and they refer the business to us. So we've made it really, really easy for agents who want to learn how to cross-sell, or maybe they don't want to learn, they just want to refer the business over. We've made it simple for multiple different processes, and we don't require them to have their contracts with us. Obviously, if they want to, that's great for everyone involved, But if they don't want to, that's okay too. We try to keep it non-biased.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Do you guys do any Medicare on your end?
No. We have a partnership here in Texas that we refer our Medicare business to. But for stuff outside of Texas, we just, like, let's say you're in Wisconsin, for example, so some random state, and you're in our academy, we're doing business back and forth. If we get people that, because we have thousands of clients of our own across the country from our national marketing, if they happen to need Medicare, I'm going to think of you first. So when we get calls in from wherever, Wisconsin, Wyoming, Florida, I'll just say, okay, where do you live? And I'll type in our CRM to see what Medicare agents that we know that we're affiliated with are in that area, and then we just give them the lead. But when they're in Texas, here we have an internal partnership.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And
We just don't want to sell it because you can't be good at everything, right? I don't want to try to learn Medicare. It's way too complicated for us. And I would have to sell, I don't know, a couple hundred Medicare policies to make up a week worth of annuity premium. So
yeah. There's a saying. It's like the jack of all trades is a master of none. I think it's
pretty much. And you got to separate your specialists. And we're very clear with our clients. So like, we don't manage money. We don't sell Medicare. We know about those two other lines. But our specialty is long-term care, annuities, and life insurance. And they're all pretty similar to each other. We just focus on those main three, stay in our lane, stay in our expertise, and scale that way.
Gotcha. How much of a crossover is it between your guys' market compared to a Medicare marketing strategy?
It's very similar depending on the angle, right? So with annuities, for example, because that's what most people are going to be interested in learning about. With annuities, you can't just directly market, hey, do you want to buy an annuity? Because it's not that popular. So you have to have a door opener, a reason to have a conversation with a client in order to discover those assets. So with Medicare, it's perfect because you're going to have that conversation about IRMA and taxation, and you have to know about their assets. And then you can educate the client like, look, Medicare is a great program. It covers a lot of things, but it also doesn't cover a lot of things. Let me go into detail what it does not cover. If you're a Medicare agent and you learn one thing from this podcast, take home the fact that if you just educate your clients on what Medicare does not do, does not cover it, versus, oh, you get silver sneakers and it'll pay for your co-payments. Yeah, okay, that's what everyone's doing. Why don't you have that conversation on what it's not going to do and then provide solutions for that, i.e. long-term care, life insurance is the door opener. And then you can go into income planning with annuities to help pay for the egregious premiums of Part B and your supplement plan that keep going up every year, right? So that's your door opener into it. That and Social Security too. So if you're in Medicare, like we use Social Security as our door opener. That's what we teach classes on to get clients in to help educate them. Mm-hmm. But if I was in Medicare, I'd be like, look, I'm a Social Security expert. Let me tell you how Social Security and Medicare go hand in hand. Let me tell you what Social Security will not do. And let me tell you what Medicare won't do. And then there's some solutions to fill in that void. And that void is using long-term care and annuities. That's like the biggest angle there. And we have all kinds of script, like at Medicare Con, I spoke on the stage there, and I gave everyone a free 54-page document, the 10-step process to long-term care. Anybody listening to this, if you want it, just go to my Academy page and fill out a request form and say, I want the ultimate guide. I'll give it to you for free, right? Whether you refer business or get contracted with us or not, that's fine. I'll just give it to free because we want to try to help out as many people as possible. And that guide is a step-by-step. If they actually read it and just use some of the email templates that we have in there, they'll see success from it because it's been proven for the last decade.
What are you seeing that works in terms of things like that, like email templates, text templates, even just regular phone calls?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, we usually recommend starting off with a basic email template, especially if they're your own clients are already kind of used to getting your communication. You can do text messaging stuff. I don't really do it, but the biggest thing is video. So like we use Loom because it's like $10 a month. It's awesome. Yeah, Loom's great. Yeah, it's awesome. I wish I would have known about it years ago. So we just do a quick Loom video. And if just on the fly right now, let's say if I was talking to you and you have a Medicare agency, I'd be like, all right, Rob, why don't you do a quick Loom video and say, hey, thanks so much. We're just checking in with you. We're getting ready for open enrollment. A lot of things are changing this upcoming year. I want to stay ahead of it for you. Feel free to reach out. But I also, before it starts, I want to tell you what Medicare is not going to cover. It's very important that you know the shortfalls of this plan. Give me a call when you can, or schedule on my calendar link. I want to spend 15 minutes with you telling you what Medicare is not going to cover. It's important you know that. How many people do you think would be like, whoa, wait a second. What do you mean it's not going to cover? What do you mean there's new changes? You're going to get your calendar flooded. It's that simple. But you actually just have to do it, right? And that's the big challenge with a lot of agents is actually doing something. So if they do that, then they get people on the call, and if they're educated on what to say in the process is what we teach, then they can see some massive success. Like the average agent that's been working with us, within the first 90 days, they're generating 10,000 in revenue.
Wow.
So that's just the average. There's others that do more or less. And some people say, well, that's not a lot. I was like, yeah, because it's realistic. But you give it time, it'll be larger.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do you think that Medicare agent could? I know we kind of myth busted it a couple minutes ago, but do you think a Medicare agent could be successful if they just did it all, where they signed you up for Medicare and then said, "Hey, this is what's not covered. Let's get you on an annuity"? Or do you think?
Yes and no. I mean, there's going to be dilution somewhere, right? It's either going to be on the Medicare side of things or the annuity side. It's really hard to do it all because you have this confusing perception to the client. So, Rob, if you go to your primary doctor and you need knee surgery, is he going to do it?
I would hope not.
There you go. Right? He's probably going to refer you to Jesse, who's a specialist. Okay. So the same thing there. You have to pick a lane essentially. So a lot of the larger Medicare agencies, we work with some of the biggest agencies in the country. What we train them to do is to have a person in the office, like, hey, this is our long-term care guy. This is our annuity guy in the office. That always seems to work the best versus, hey, Jesse, I'm going to sell you a plan, and here's your hearing, dental, vision plan. Here's your cancer, heart attack, stroke policy. By the way, let's roll over your $1 million of your life savings because I'm also an expert in that too. It's a little bit too much of a stretch, in my opinion. Right. Now, there are agents that tried to do that, and I go, great, how many apps did you sell this year? Right? Oh, 50 apps. In the entire year? Yeah. How much annuity premium did you write? $1 million. That's it? But if you just focused all on Medicare, just focused all on the annuities, it'd be much greater than that, right? Gotcha. So you want to ideally have somebody in the office that does that for you, or create a partnership with someone that's local or like ourselves that can be your wing and experts to actually facilitate that client transaction process. Because there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just like, here's the application for an annuity, here's money, here's commission. There's a whole process in between all that, just like with Medicare, right?
Totally. Hey, Roy, I've got a question for you, and I agree 100%. Yeah. I like the specialization big time. I've been in insurance for 17 years, and over and over, I find that, once I start overloading a team member with, all right, you're doing sales and service, and I want you to do, financial services, Medicare, life, PNC. It's much better to have, as much of a laser focus as you can. I, at one point in time, had an amazing financial services person on our team, and they're no longer with us. Where do you find people like that? Like, if I wanted an in-house financial services specialist, like, where would you even find them, and how would you get them to join your team? How would you approach that?
Yeah, I'll tell you how we do it. And it's incredibly challenging. I mean, if I had that system perfectly mapped out, I probably wouldn't be on this Zoom call. I'd be on the Bahamas, right? But
on the yacht.
That's what I tell my clients too when I do my presentations. Like, look, I don't charge fees to consult with. If I did, I wouldn't be here right now. I promise you. But the way that we've done it, it's a very slow process because you don't want to mess up. Right? Just like with Medicare, you got scope of appointment, you got, okay, should you get off your employer plan with COBRA? A lot of sensitive things, right? So what we've done that seems to be working very successfully, and given it's a much longer process, but what we do is, like, I'll give you an example. Garrett, my partner, he came in to the practice, and then he sold a couple policies, that's it, right? So I had more experience than he did. I said, okay, I tell you what, man, how about you help me just process all this paperwork, because I am tired of it, right? And what better way to learn the product and learn the process than to actually be getting your hands in it and doing it, following up on medical records, checking on the insurance company, did they take their exam, blah, blah, blah. So he mastered that whole administrative role, essentially. And then since he mastered it, I was like, dude, look, how about you start selling more? Let's buy some leads. Let's grow this together. And so he started doing that. And then now he doesn't do any of my applications, doesn't do really any follow-up, because we got somebody else in that we've trained that runs our office now, our office manager, Valerie, that she helps process all this stuff following up with the companies. Then we got another guy that came in who's a good friend of mine, and same thing, brand new agent. We said, okay, process all the paperwork, do the fun stuff, right? learn how that actually works, and then you can become a master of the product and the system. And then when you're speaking with people, then you can easily be able to like, oh yeah, let me tell you exactly what the next steps are. This is how it's going to happen. So that's how we've duplicated. We're hiring another person now that we're going to train as an administrative position. And they may stay that way too, right? Because the other big balance is some people want to become a salesperson on the insurance side, but they're just not really meant to be that person, right? They're better off doing administrative roles and following up and helping the whole company succeed as a whole. So you have to also have that conversation like, what would you really want to do in the future? Do you want to sell, or do you simply want to help process all this and benefit from the totality? Yeah. And so it's a fine line there, but getting people today that can actually work and have the foresight and the patience for the money to come is really hard, especially when you're hiring people. I mean, my God, Chick-fil-A down the road will pay you $20 an hour to sling French fries. How, as an employer, if I got to hire 5 people, I got to pay payroll tax and all this other crap. How am I going to be competitive without like really spending a ton of money and making sure I get the value out of it? That's the biggest risk, because it literally takes forever to train somebody in this practice to be successful. And it's if they quit because they don't like it, we've had that happen. We've also fired people. It sucks because it's like, it's not the money that was lost. It's all that time. How am I going to redo it again? I.e. Loom, we record everything now. Yeah. That way when new people come on, we just have them watch a series of Loom videos.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're hiring people and then training them to become that expert. You're not going out and finding somebody that's already an annuity expert and then having them come into your team?
Yeah, ideally, because here's the problem with that in our experience, right? If somebody already has a few years of experience under their belt, that could still work, but it depends, because some people have the perception that they have it figured out, right? I'm not going to do it that way. Well, then you're not going to work with us. That's totally cool. Just get your contracts through us and go do your own thing, right? But it's harder to find people that are already successful in the practice, because if they are, why would they work for you inside the office on like a payroll? You know what I mean? Yep. So we found it better to take somebody who's ambitious, willing to learn, and then we can help them become educated on our internal process. That way there's no conflict. So it reduces the conflict. It's more time consuming, but it also reduces the potential conflict. Oh, no, that's how I always do it. Oh, really? Have you written $35, $40, $50 million a year in premium? No. Well, then it's probably not working as well, right? Let's try it this way. And so it's harder when somebody already has a ton of experience in our experience.
So it sounds like if I'm a Medicare agent and I'm watching this podcast, I kind of have 2 options. One, learn how to do it right on my own and become an expert. And I probably get there a lot faster with your training program, the Snarr Agent Academy, to learn from all of your failures and successes. So I think that would be one path. And if I don't have the bandwidth or the time to do that, probably find somebody to partner with, like that partner program that you're talking about, right?
Ideally, yeah, because that's why you have to have the education, right? And that's what the Academy is pre-recorded content. Because if you come to me and say, hey, look, train me. I'm like, well, I already have all the trainings. You need to watch those first, then let me help you, right? Yeah. Just like if you get a job somewhere, or if you're going to go to college and get a degree, you can't just walk in and take the test, right? Yeah. You have to study and do the whole thing. So that's the same thing. You have to invest time into it. But they could be like a paid internship. Because let's say, Jesse, you have a client that's higher net worth and they're looking for asset-based long-term care, which is an entire specialty on its own. And you say, Roy, can you or your team members hop on a call with me and the client? And I want you guys to do the whole process. I'm going to be present so I can learn everything. I want to be present during all the follow-up. You do that with 5 cases, you pretty much get the gist of it. Then you can do it yourself. Now, there's a revenue sharing aspect to that because it's our time, but it's a paid internship. It's better to get 40 or 50% or whatever the agreement may be of a big policy than 0 of no policy, right? And so that's one of the things that we offer agents too.
So if I'm understanding right, if by partnering with your company, I can also be present in those presentations and conversations and learn from you guys, and eventually, do it with you. Maybe that might lead into the next conversation: is where do agents go to get market access, right? Like contracts and things like that. What are your recommendations?
Yeah, I can break that down. And so again, Jesse, it's to your point, it's really up to the agent. Some agents say, you know what, I want to slow down Medicare and I just want to do something else and burn out on it. And then this is a great opportunity. There's others that say, I want to learn it all myself. It'll take longer. And then most of them will partner with us. We'll do a few cases. In a perfect world, we encourage agents not to just simply refer business to us. We want them writing the business, right? Because then they get a bigger sense of ownership. They get more commissions paid to them, and it's also more scalable for us. If we wrote everybody's policies throughout the country, that's all we would be able to do instead of our own policies, right? So our program is incentivized to get them to just do a few with us and let them become educated and know how to do it, and then they can train somebody in their office on how to do it, right? So it's more duplicatable that way. But you need access to contracting, and I'll give you a quick story here. In our industry, there's a lot of changes occurring. Okay, we have your Integrities, your AmeriLifes, and Simplicities, Humana, all these big companies. They're all great, but they're all buying up these marketing organizations or IMOs. Okay, so agents are being treated just dollar signs. That's all, right? They're like a commodity almost. Okay, so let's say you work really, really hard for an agency, and then they get acquired by one of the big names. Okay, they get acquired. What do you get out of it as an agent? Nothing.
Been
Zero.
through it.
Oh yeah,
We've been through it.
So same thing here. I've been through that too, in a few different groups. And I was like, wow. I mean, I'm happy for their success. They built it. They provided support at the time, but I helped contribute to that EBITDA value, that bottom dollar, but I got nothing out of it.
Yep.
So that's a huge challenge in the industry. The other huge challenge is transparency and commissions. If you ask 10 Medicare agents what they're being paid on an Advantage plan, they're all going to tell you something different, right? If you ask 10 agents what they're getting paid on annuities, probably going to all tell you something different. Same with life insurance, okay?
Yeah.
And so that's an issue because there's a ton of money on the top that does not get passed through to the agent. The third thing that's a problem is that there's a lot of agents out there that want to build an agency. They want to create their own IMO, but there's no structure for it because the other IMOs don't want that to happen, okay? So what we've done is we've developed a program, and I'm one of the founding agents and shareholders in Annuity.com. It's one of the oldest financial websites, most well-known out there. And we've created an agency program that pays equity to the actual agent. So you get to earn up to $15,000 worth of shares every single year on your production. And after you hit $5 million in annuity production, it's a full pass-through of marketing dollars, which is equal to around $20,000 to $25,000 per $1 million in premium written. The company doesn't make anything on you. We pass it all back down for marketing purposes. Wow. In addition to that, those shares at one point in time, we are too going to sell off or do profit distribution, whatever it may be. But the point is that if you're going to get paid the same anyway, with the opportunity to earn the highest compensation in the industry, you also are getting ownership in the firm itself. Could you imagine think of the firm that you prior wrote with that was acquired. If you started from the beginning and had equity in there, how much would those shares been worth? If you bought $15,000 in Amazon shares 10 years ago versus $15,000 in Amazon shares today, you'd be a lot better off 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we've done. And we offer a national call every Thursday to help educate people on this. And it's really not that complicated. We took what Keller Williams and eXp Realty have done in the real estate space and mimicked it on the insurance space. Cool. To our knowledge, the very first company to ever do that. So transparent commissions, the ability to earn equity, plus we have an agency builder program. And it's optional. Some people want to build an agency, some people don't. But if you want to build an agency like your own sub IMO that you contractually own and that you can sell off or will to your family, you can do so and get paid 7 generations deep.
Wow.
You can actually build an agency and receive compensation from that, earn equity, and get the highest comp ever. So it's really, really unique. We've done a couple pre-releases on what we're doing through like EIM Presswire, but we're going to get really big here shortly and do a massive announcement. But we're bringing on close to 50 agents a month right now in the organization just by word of mouth. So you really have to think about where you're going to hang your hat at, right? You're going to hang your hat somewhere where you're not going to get equity ownership, you're not going to have transparency or the ability to build a team, or can you do it somewhere else with a pre-release letter up front? Because we honor that, because that's a pain in the ass. I don't know if anybody on here has ever moved organizations before.
Yep.
Yeah. And so if you're one of the top guys there and they don't want to let you go, too bad, right? You're stuck. You don't own your business.
Yep. You
do not own your business in this industry unless you have a signed pre-release. So we give that up front before any contracting starts. You want to leave, you can leave at any point in time. So when it comes to getting your license hung somewhere or your appointment work, pick the right choice. Maybe it's not for you, Annuity.com. But if those features are attractive to you, then definitely reach out to us. We'll just show you exactly how it all works. And then on the life insurance and long-term care side of things, we have a separate program for that, where if you're an agency owner, we can give you an agency compensation in addition, so you can bonus out your agents. There's a lot of cool features out there. But the biggest part of it, Rob and Jesse, is that we're 100% transparent. Like, this is what we make. This is what you can make. And everybody starts off the same with Annuity.com. We're all equal. Even me. I'm one of the founding agent team members. I still start the same that Jesse and Rob would start, right? Because it's all equal and transparent.
We got to talk about that and get you a better deal, bro.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. And so that's a great way to build an agency. Maybe, a lot of people in the Medicare space is just, they're an independent contractor. They don't have a team. I'm sure it still works for them as well. If they're just one guy, one lady selling Medicare, they can go and interact with you guys there as well.
Yeah, totally. You don't have to build a team. It's just an option, an additional feature. But the point is that as an IMO, we offer the highest compensation possible. We know how the game works. We've all been through the ringer. We've all been lied to about marketing programs and how it's going to change your life. We don't do any of that. This is an agency built by agents for agents. That's what's really nice about it, because we've all been through it. We said, hey, let's cut out all the BS that's out there and make something simple and transparent. That's what we've done. Yeah,
that's really cool. I like the way that you guys, like you said, like a lot of the IMOs are like, yeah, get contracted through us and then have fun. There's not like a lot of help and training. Sounds like you guys will partner on cases, kind of teach yourself out of a job there. And then, people can be contracted through you and still have a relationship, and everybody wins together. So I think that's a really great resource for agents that are doing Medicare, to diversify, not leave money on the table, but ultimately really help the customers, because something we kind of are assuming that people know what annuities are, but these products are really good for people too. Like, it protects people, and that's what we're all about at the end of the day. We don't ever do anything that, isn't in the best interest for the customer.
Right.
Annuities, long-term care, life insurance, Medicare, it's all in, all of it's designed to take care of people. And, so if somebody doesn't even understand annuities at all, where would you say to start? Well,
the best place to start, and this is a biased opinion, is the Academy. Because if you just go to your IMO now, and that's another cool, we don't even do Medicare contracting, right? So if you're worried about us asking about your Medicare, we don't even touch that. I mean, we have people, if you have questions, we can refer you to, but we don't touch that. And so most agents don't have any issue at all, because they're not already writing those other lines to begin with, right? But one of the best places to start is getting some grassroots education about what are annuities, Annuities 101. Because if you go to the traditional IMO first and say, hey, look, I want to sell some annuities, what they're going to tell you is like, okay, ask how much money the client has. I'll give you an illustration. The illustration they give you is going to be an annuity provider that has the highest override possible that they can make, generally, right? They'll just send that off to you. Versus, okay, let's what are the softwares out there that can show transparency? Like, I've written over $5.5 million in annuity premium so far this month. The way I do it is I just simply show comparison software. It's not my opinion, it's just math. That's the best part. Yeah. I'm just a spokesperson for the program. I say, look, here's the different options we can help you with if it's for you. They go, great, that's awesome. So that way you bring transparency, you're acting in a fiduciary capacity, the client understands it, they see it, they enjoy it, they like it, and it's much easier that way. But it took a long time to get to that point, because I didn't have the grassroots the education. I had to learn it the hard way. That's why, for $100, they can learn everything they want to and then move on with life, right? But we record everything. There's hundreds of hours there just to help agents out. And then if not, then go to find someone that is actually successful in the business. So I wouldn't take advice from somebody about how to sell annuities unless they're writing at least 5 to 10 million a year, right? And so if you have somebody local or you want to do a different direction, that's okay too. But find somebody who's hyper successful in the space. Yep. That way you get the best advice possible, because oftentimes advice may be given when they only write like $1 million or $3 million a year. Yep. It's like, well, it's like if somebody says, oh, I sold 10 Medicare apps during open enrollment, I'm going to give you advice on how to sell Medicare. I'm like, no.
It's crazy that I see that happening almost daily, like, oh, hey, I want to talk to you about contracting through Medicare through us, even though I've never sold a single plan. So,
That's the problem. These marketers are like, they get health insurance, they're on a
yeah.
salary, smoking cigars on Facebook. We're out here,
Yeah, it's all this MLM
hunting,
crap they don't
living.
actually produce. So let's talk turkey a little bit before we wrap up here and talk about something that is a little bit exciting, and some people, don't like to talk about it. But hey, we're all out here to make money and take care of our families. So can you talk a little bit about the revenue opportunity with annuities? I remember long time ago, before I partnered with the gentleman that I told you that crushed it at annuities on my team, him and I split a case, and it was like a $1.2 million rollover. We put it into an annuity, and then when I got my half of the commission from that, I was like, what? Like, this is what we get paid on annuities? Like, can you talk a little bit about the revenue opportunity, just so people know, how much money there is out there in this industry?
Yeah. So let's say that you're able to help people with just $100,000 a month rollover. That's it. At all your clients, you just help somebody move over. Maybe help 3 people move over $33,000. Okay. So $100,000 rollover is going to pay you on average about 7% street commission. So $7,000. So how many Medicare applications do you have to sell to make $7,000? Now, given it is all up front, right? You can take trail options. Nobody really does. Yeah. But that's $7,000 paid up front. Then you think to yourself, what if I did $200,000? Oh, well, now that's $14,000. And then the number scales all the way up, right? Now, if you're with a program like ours at Annuity.com and you start writing, so on your first 5 million, you'll make $350,000 on average, depending on the product and the company. But then on your 6th million, you're going to make 70,000 street and roughly $20,000 in marketing allowance. So that's $90,000 per 1 million. So if you say, once I hit that number and I want to write more and more business, what if I could just write $6 million a year? Well, I'm going to make an extra, $750,000 potentially, right? Depending on what's your other ancillary sales. So there's a lot of money to be made on it, but it's challenging too, right? I mean, you're sitting down with somebody trying to conceptually sell them something that they may not be aware of and to move it all over. And most of the people that we help with, we're only using like 30 to 40% of their portfolio. The rest we leave liquid and manageable. But the other big thing here for revenue purposes is asset-based long-term care. Our average commission on an asset-based long-term care policy is $7,500. So imagine if you help out of all your clients, let's say you have 500 clients, you don't think that you can help 2 of them with an annuity and then 2 with asset-based long-term care. So 4 total, right? That's like 1% of your client base. If you were to do that, that's an average of $15,000 in long-term care commissions. And let's say you do $200,000, that's an average of $14,000 in annuity commissions. That's $29,000 in revenue from a book of business that has 500 clients in it, and you're only helping 4 people. Now, given there's going to be some that, like to your point, Jesse, you might get lucky and roll over $1 million and make $70,000. That's amazing. But that's not likely to occur in your first few. Yeah. But thinking it that way, if they just did a little bit of extra, bridging that gap between after special enrollment's over and till the next open enrollment period, what are you going to do with all those clients? Why don't you follow all back up with them and show them safe money solutions and long-term care and just have a conversation? Do a Zoom call with all your clients and educate them on it. Yeah. Or we'll do the Zoom call for you and you get all the leads. We don't care.
So with that example that I shared, that $1 million rollover, I remember the guy came in my office and said, Jesse, I saw in your email signature that you do annuities. I've got $1.2 million that I need to roll over. Can you help me? And I remember in my brain, I said, okay, do I take a swing at this knowing I understand annuities. I can call a wholesaler and try to get it done. Or do I call my buddy up the road that I know will hit a home run on this? And I said, you know what? For a deal that size, why don't we get somebody that's an absolute, world-class expert involved in this? I know he'll be able to take care of it. He's right up the road. And so I phoned a friend because I was like, I don't want to take this game-winning shot with 30 seconds left, right? So that's where I see the value of partnering with like your firm and, hey, look, do I try to take a swing at this and, maybe I have a 10% chance of getting it? Or do I go with somebody that's best in the industry and we have a 80% chance of getting it? And I'd rather split revenue and win more and learn than try to eat that elephant on my own. So.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of agents do. I mean, there's some agents that we partner with, like, no, I want it all myself. Okay, cool. And then like a year goes by, how much did you sell? I didn't sell anything. I was like, okay, well, do you want to give it another shot? And like, yeah, maybe you only get 40% of the commissions, but we're doing absolutely everything. And you do that for 1 or 2 cases, and then you're off to the races. So I mean, we do the same thing, like with disability insurance. We don't sell it. I mean, I have a guy that does it. He's awesome at it. I've known him for years. I just say, here's the case, and he takes it all. Now, could I write it myself, make 100% of it and all the renewals? I could, but this is not my specialty. I refer it off that way. It's just so much easier, to your point.
Well, I think I'm going to be talking to you soon, or somebody on your team. We did 3,500 Medicare enrollments in my office last year, and we're not doing anything with the annuities. So I think there's some opportunity there. So. I'm pretty excited about it myself.
Yeah, reach out, and we'd love to talk to you about how we can work together and just kind of show you our process. And I think you'll appreciate it, and some of the other agents too. We always take the client's best interests first. We show transparency on all the software we use, so it's not a matter of opinion, because most of the clients and most of the agents, if a client owns an annuity and you ask them, why'd you buy it, they're going to have no idea for most people. I don't know, I was told to buy it, right? Were you shown all the other carriers? Are you sure that was the best for you? Likely that's not the case, but that never happens with our clients or our agents that we train, because we're like, look, here's a cheap software tool that you can use with technology that makes sure that you're always doing the best thing for them and you feel good about yourself. It's awesome. And the client wins too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Cool. Well, I think we're at the end of the road here, fellas. This was
thanks so much for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for coming on. I mean, this is a different angle than what we've had in the past on the podcast. And I think that the people watching are going to get a ton of value out of this. And I'm sure there'll be some people reaching out. So,
awesome. Yeah, anytime. We even if they just have questions, our team's open to questions just to help them out, because if we can help out an agent change their lives and their families' lives, and then also help impact their clients' lives, it's very rewarding.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks, Roy.
Yep. There it is. We'll see you next time. Subscribe to the channel. We're here. Really quick, I want to tell you a little bit more about Medicare Masterclass. Medicare Masterclass is a training platform specifically for agents who want to sell more Medicare. And it's built by a Medicare agent named Ashley Van Gundy, who consistently writes over 150 policies per month, even outside of AAP. I'm going to say that again. Over 150 policies per month, even outside of AAP. And she doesn't have a massive team. She just has a really great sales process, and her marketing is dialed in. So what does the platform include? Exactly that and much more. You're going to get the 7-step talk path to Medicare sales. So it's going to show you how to increase production. Then you're also going to get the lead generation mastery to show you how to dial in your marketing so you can have more leads than minutes in the day. So if you are a Medicare agent and you want to sell more Medicare, this is the best training platform available on the market. Go to MedicareMasterclass.com to enroll today.